Introduction. Hello friends, and welcome back. If you're someone who enjoys thrilling edge-of-your-seat action movies packed with intense missions, elite snipers, and heart-pounding suspense, then today's video is just for you. Because in this video, we're going to talk about one of the most anticipated action films of the year, Sniper: The Last Stand. That's right, the latest entry in the iconic Sniper franchise is here, and it's loaded with everything fans have come to love. Sharp shooting, tactical warfare, and a plot that keeps you guessing till the very end. Now, before we get into all the exciting details, if you're new to our channel and love movies as much as we do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way, you'll always be up to date with the newest movie reviews, breakdowns, behind-the-scenes facts, and everything happening in the world of cinema. And if you enjoy content like this, make sure to like the video. It really helps us bring you more great content. Alright, let's get into it. In today's video, we're going to cover everything you need to know about Sniper: The Last Stand. What is this movie all about? What's the story? Who are the main characters? Where and how can you watch it? And most importantly, does it live up to the legacy of the previous films in the series? I'm going to answer all those questions and more. We'll start by giving you a full overview of the movie's plot. But don't worry, no major spoilers here. Just enough to give you an idea of the high-stakes mission and the dangerous world our sniper heroes are navigating. Then, we'll move on to where you can watch this film. I'll be sharing the exact OTT platforms and satellite channels where the movie is either already available or will be releasing soon, so you won't have to waste any time searching. Next, we're going to dig into the technical side of things. From the movie's direction and screenplay, to its cinematography, sound design, and editing, I'll tell you how the film was crafted behind the scenes. We'll also explore the musical score and how it helps elevate the suspense and emotional moments. And yes, we're going to take a closer look at the production side too. How much was the budget, how the filming process unfolded, which locations were used, and what went into the post-production phase to bring the final product to life. Of course, a movie is nothing without its cast, and Sniper: The Last Stand features some familiar faces alongside fresh talent. I'll introduce you to all the main characters, which actors played them, and how well they brought their roles to life. We'll talk about their performances, the chemistry between the leads, and how their characters fit into the storyline. Whether it's the cool and calculated veteran sniper or the ambitious newcomer facing his first mission, we'll discuss each one in detail. But we're not stopping there. I'll also be sharing some behind-the-scenes facts, lesser-known trivia, and interesting things that happened during the making of the movie. These little details always make the experience more fun and give you a deeper appreciation for the work that goes into a film like this. On top of that, I'll give you a short review of the movie. My honest thoughts on what worked, what didn't, and whether it's worth your time. So whether you're a long-time fan of the Sniper series or just someone looking for a new action movie to watch this weekend, you're going to find everything you need to know right here in this video. Make sure to watch until the end, because there's a lot of information you won't want to miss. Alright friends, grab your popcorn, sit back, and get ready, because we're about to dive deep into the world of Sniper: The Last Stand. Let's get started. Alright movie lovers, buckle up, because we're diving straight into the battlefield of Sniper: The Last Stand, and trust me, this one doesn't waste a second pulling you into the action. Right from the opening scene, we're thrust into the gritty high-stakes world of covert operations, where every bullet counts and trust is in short supply. It starts with a bang. Literally. We meet our lead sniper, a battle-hardened marksman who's clearly been through hell and come out aiming steadier than ever. But this time, the mission isn't just another Black Ops assignment. This time, it's personal. The film doesn't mess around with long setup. Instead, it drops us straight into an ambush gone wrong. What begins as a straightforward extraction mission in a remote jungle turns sideways when our protagonist discovers that there's a leak in the unit. Someone on the inside is feeding intel to the enemy, and suddenly, it's not just about completing the mission, it's about survival. This early twist kicks off a cat-and-mouse game that spans countries, trust dynamics, and shifting alliances. It's fast, it's tense, and it makes you question every new character who steps into the frame. Now, the structure of the film is actually pretty clever. While it mostly follows a linear timeline, it likes to drop little flashbacks. Not in a confusing or overly artistic way, but more like emotional landmines. These short, sharp memory flashes give us a peek into the sniper's past missions, old regrets, and the ghosts that still haunt him. They're scattered just enough to deepen the character without slowing down the pacing. It adds a psychological layer to all the physical action, showing us that this sniper isn't just fighting enemies out there in the field. He's fighting the ones in his own head too. As the story progresses, the team dynamics shift. We're introduced to a younger, less experienced sniper. Eager, sharp, and hungry to prove himself. And here's where the generational tension comes in. The older sniper sees his own past mistakes in the rookie, and their relationship becomes one of the core emotional threads of the movie. You think it's just going to be a mentor-mentee thing, but nope. The story throws in a twist involving their pasts that turns their bond into something way more complicated. Suddenly, it's not just about surviving the mission, it's about making peace with old choices and deciding what kind of soldier and what kind of man you want to be. The turning points come fast and hard. There's a brutal betrayal mid-film that completely shifts the objective of the mission, turning it from an operation into a rescue, then into a revenge plot. The sniper finds himself stranded behind enemy lines with no backup, hunted by mercenaries and political enemies, and haunted by a decision he made years ago that's finally caught up with him. The stakes escalate with every act. There's a moment, oh, you'll know it when you see it, where he has to choose between pulling the trigger on a known traitor or protecting an innocent life, and it hits with a level of emotional punch you don't often expect in a gun-heavy action film. And just when you think the movie is going to wrap up in typical fashion, big explosion, mission complete, it throws in one final twist. The real enemy wasn't the warlord, or the double agent. It was someone even closer. This twist recontextualizes everything we saw before, even those earlier flashbacks, and adds a whole new layer of tension to what felt like a resolved story. The final showdown isn't just bullets and bravado, it's two philosophies colliding, two versions of what justice looks like. What makes this narrative so gripping isn't just the action. It's the way it balances explosive set pieces with emotional beats. It doesn't reinvent storytelling entirely, but it plays with just enough time jumps and layered character dynamics to keep it fresh. The sniper's journey isn't just about surviving the last stand. It's about owning it, facing everything he's run from, and deciding what kind of legacy he'll leave behind. And in between all that, yeah, there are some absolutely wild shootouts and tactical genius that will make any action fan cheer. So if you're into smart storytelling packed inside a bulletproof vest of high-stakes drama, Sniper, The Last Stand brings the fire. And it doesn't let up until the very last shot is fired. Absolutely, here's a fully expanded and richly detailed version of the character development section for Sniper, The Last Stand, designed to feel like a captivating walkthrough for the audience. Immersive, fun, and filled with insight, without sounding like a traditional review. Alright, action fans, let's talk about what really gives Sniper, The Last Stand its firepower. And no, I'm not talking about the rifles. I'm talking about the people behind the scopes, the ones pulling the triggers, making the decisions, facing their demons. This film may be packed with adrenaline and tactical sequences, but underneath all that, it's a surprisingly human story. It's about fractured loyalties, painful pasts, second chances, and what it means to keep fighting. Not just enemies out there but the ones within yourself. Let's begin with our central figure, the legendary Sniper. He's the guy you expect to be the stone-cold operator, the one who's seen everything and doesn't flinch. And yes, when we first meet him, he's all of that. He's calm, composed, disciplined, a true professional who moves like he's rehearsed every step 1,000 times before. But what's so compelling is how the movie slowly pulls back the layers. This isn't some one-dimensional, tough guy. There's history in his silence, pain in the way he looks at the younger soldiers, and ghosts in the way he hesitates before giving an order. We start to see a man weighed down not just by the missions he's completed, but by the ones that went wrong. By the people he couldn't save. By the targets he couldn't forget. You start to realize that for him, this mission isn't just another assignment. It's redemption. A chance to set something right from a long time ago. And that changes how you see everything he does. Every shot he takes, every moment of restraint, every sudden outburst, it all comes from a place of deep internal conflict. He's a man who's good at his job but tired of being the one holding the rifle. And watching that emotional struggle unfold makes him feel not just like a soldier, but like a real person, wounded and brave in equal measure. Now let's talk about the rookie. Oh yes, this kid brings energy. He crashes into the story like a grenade, eager, impulsive, and convinced he's the next great marksman. At first, you might think he's there just to contrast the veteran, to act like a foil. But nope. The rookie has his own journey, and it's a wild one. You watch him go from cocky and wide-eyed to someone who's been through fire and come out different. Not broken, but changed. He gets humbled, tested, and at one point nearly loses everything because of a mistake. And the best part? The film doesn't rush his growth. It lets him fall hard and get back up slowly. His relationship with the lead sniper is where the emotional core of the film really ignites. At first, there's tension. Big time. The old sniper sees too much of his younger self in this kid, and that scares him. He doesn't want the rookie to make the same mistakes. And the rookie? He wants to prove he belongs, that he can handle it, that he's not just some fresh recruit tagging along. What starts as grudging tolerance slowly builds into mentorship, and eventually, into something more profound. A bond rooted in shared pain and earned respect. But just when you think the bond is solid, boom. There's a revelation from the past that flips everything. Suddenly, the two are thrown into an emotional battlefield as intense as the physical one. Trust is shattered, motivations are questioned, and what was once a strong partnership now teeters on the edge of collapse. And then there's the antagonist, arguably one of the most interesting characters in the movie. He's not your mustache-twirling villain. He's calm, collected, and disturbingly convincing. He believes what he's doing is right. He sees the system as corrupt, the missions as pointless, and the sniper as a relic of a dying ideology. What makes him terrifying isn't that he's evil. It's that he might be right. He shares a deep, complex history with the lead sniper, and when their paths finally cross again, it's not just a showdown, it's a reckoning. Every word between them drips with meaning. You get the sense that these two could have been allies in another life, and that's what makes their confrontation so powerful. It's personal. It's philosophical. It's war on multiple levels. Even the supporting characters don't feel like filler. There's a tech specialist, sarcastic, brilliant, always 2 steps ahead on the battlefield but dealing with his own insecurities when it comes to being seen as just the guy behind the computer. He has moments that show depth and courage, and his loyalty to the team brings unexpected emotional weight. Then there's the field medic, a character who could have easily been background, but instead, she stands out. She's tough, emotionally guarded, but deeply compassionate. She holds the team together in moments when everyone else is falling apart, and her backstory, when revealed, adds another layer of trauma and resilience to the mix. What's so refreshing is that these characters don't just serve the plot, they shape it. Their decisions, their doubts, their history, they drive the story forward. The sniper doesn't just carry the mission. He carries the emotional gravity of every person he's ever left behind. The rookie doesn't just learn to shoot better. He learns to think, to lead, to feel the weight of responsibility. The villain isn't just trying to win, he's trying to prove a point, and the worst part is, sometimes he almost does. And as these character arcs twist and collide, they build a tension that's way deeper than just bullets flying. It becomes about identity, legacy, the cost of duty, and whether or not someone can truly leave the battlefield behind. Even when the mission ends. These characters start off as soldiers, but by the end, they've been stripped bare. What's left are people, raw and human, standing in the rubble of their choices, trying to find something worth holding on to. So while Sniper, The Last Stand is absolutely packed with intense action, it's the character development that gives the story its punch. The bullets hit hard, but the emotions hit harder. And when you walk away from it all, you're not just remembering the explosions. You're remembering the people behind them. The ones who stood their ground. The ones who grew. And the ones who finally faced their last stand. You got it. Let's go all in and fully expand the performances section for Sniper. The Last Stand, painting a detailed, immersive picture of how the cast delivers their roles. Get ready for a deep dive into the intensity, the nuance, and the raw emotional grit these actors bring to the battlefield. Let's talk about what turns Sniper, The Last Stand from just another military thriller into something memorable. The performances. This isn't just a group of actors playing soldier. This is a cast stepping into boots worn thin by years of war, carrying the weight of past missions, fractured relationships, and impossible choices. Every performance feels charged, deliberate, and emotionally grounded in ways that make even the quietest scenes hit just as hard as the firefights. The film might be built around the tension of a battlefield, but what really fires are the eyes, the voices, the silences, the kind that scream louder than gunfire. Let's begin with the veteran Sniper, the stoic lead at the center of it all. This character is the spine of the film, and the actor brings a kind of lived-in gravitas that can't be faked. From his first appearance, he's a figure of quiet authority. He walks like he's already done this 100 times, scans a room like he's memorized every exit before anyone else has even looked up. But it's not just physical presence. It's psychological layering. The actor plays him with restraint, but every flick of the eye, every furrow of the brow, tells a deeper story. You sense the weight on his shoulders, the missions that went wrong, the names he still remembers years later. And when he speaks, it's not with booming monologues or tough guy cliches. It's with cold precision. Short sentences. Measured breaths. Every word feels earned. But then as the plot digs deeper into his past, the cracks begin to show. And that's where the performance really takes off. You start to see the guilt simmering beneath the calm. The hesitation in his trigger finger. The memory that catches him off guard in the middle of a tactical op. The actor doesn't overplay any of it. He lets the emotions seep in gradually. You believe this man has been through war, not because he says it, but because it's written all over his face. In one unforgettable scene, he stands over a fallen enemy, and for a moment, he's not a sniper. He's just a man who's tired. No dialogue. Just silence. And it says everything. Then we get the rookie sniper, the young, hungry, unpredictable force who crashes into the story like a live grenade. And this actor brings it. He's fiery, impulsive, full of swagger, and almost annoyingly confident at first. But it's not just surface-level bravado. There's an underlying vulnerability that slips through when the bravado breaks, when he messes up a shot, when he's confronted by the horror of real combat, when he realizes that being a sniper isn't about glory. It's about precision, patience, and carrying the burden of your own choices. You watch this character grow before your eyes, and the actor gives it everything. There's a scene, high pressure, split-second decision, and the rookie hesitates. The fear, the doubt, the desperation in his face. It's so raw you can feel your pulse match his. And when he finally earns the trust of the team, the pride in his eyes isn't loud. It's quiet. Earned. Real. But let's not forget the villain. The cold, calculating, philosophical antagonist who doesn't need to scream to feel dangerous. The performance here is magnetic. This actor delivers lines like chess moves, every word carefully selected, every pause loaded with threat. He doesn't try to be likable. He doesn't need to be. But he's believable, and that's even scarier. You don't just see him as the bad guy. You see a man with a vision, twisted maybe, but logical in his own mind. And when he finally confronts the sniper, oh, it's electric. Two men with history, locked in a moral duel. The actor doesn't just play a villain. He plays a counterpoint. A rival ideology. And he does it so well, you'll find yourself questioning which side is actually right. Now the supporting cast. Here's where the film deepens even more. First up, the field medic. She isn't just there to patch up wounds and toss first aid kits. She's the emotional anchor of the team. The actress plays her with this incredible balance of strength and tenderness. She doesn't cry often, but when she does, it's devastating. And when she's keeping her cool in the middle of chaos, her performance radiates resilience. You can feel the weight she carries. She's seen just as much as the others, maybe more, but she keeps everyone else steady while managing her own trauma just beneath the surface. There's a scene where she tells the rookie a story about a mission gone wrong. Not a flashy moment, just a quiet, honest one, and it's absolutely gripping. The way her voice tightens, the way she can't quite finish the sentence. That's acting with depth. And the tech guy. Oh yes, the unofficial comic relief who's way more than just the guy behind the screen. He's the one who makes you laugh in the middle of the tension, but the actor also gives him an edge of uncertainty. He's not a field operator, but when he's forced into a combat situation, his panic feels real. Not over the top. Just human. And when he finally pulls himself together and delivers in a crucial moment, the pride on his face is subtle but powerful. You want to cheer for him, not because he suddenly turns into an action hero, but because the performance makes you believe in his journey. The magic of these performances lies not just in the individual portrayals, but in the chemistry. The way these actors connect. You feel the tension, the mistrust, the loyalty, the unspoken history. When characters argue, it stings because you know there's love underneath the frustration. When they joke, it's not just to be funny, it's a coping mechanism. And when they lose someone, their grief lingers in the air like smoke. These aren't just performances, they're relationships brought to life on screen. The cast doesn't just perform together. They collide, resonate, evolve together. It's what makes every mission feel risky, every betrayal hurt, and every victory earned. By the end of Sniper, The Last Stand, you're not just remembering the big shootouts or the tactical moves, you're remembering the people. The performances linger. They echo. They haunt. Because these actors don't just play soldiers, they become them. And they take you with them every step of the way. Absolutely. Let's pull the scope back and dive even deeper into the mechanics of how Sniper, The Last Stand is shaped by the director's hand. Because this isn't just a case of ticking boxes in a military thriller. It's a full-blown, carefully orchestrated symphony of tension, style, and psychological warfare. The director doesn't merely want you to watch the story unfold. He wants you to feel every breath, flinch at every distant crack of a rifle, and question what side of the scope you're really on. From the get-go, the tone grabs you by the collar and pulls you into a world that feels steeped in moral ambiguity. The film opens not with an explosion or chase, but with silence. Tense, heavy silence. The kind that makes your ears ring and your nerves buzz. That choice alone signals the kind of film this is going to be. Meditative, methodical, and unnerving. The director embraces a tone that's not loud or showy but smoldering, like an ember under dry leaves. You know something's going to catch fire. You just don't know when. What makes this tone work so well is the emotional temperature of the characters. These aren't caricatures barking orders or delivering action movie one-liners. They're weary, damaged professionals, shaped by trauma and duty. The director ensures their pain and doubt bleed through even in the smallest gestures. A glance over a shoulder. The way a sniper steadies his breath. A twitch of the eye when a shot lands. It's all there in the subtleties. You're not watching heroes. You're watching survivors. That tonal commitment to realism gives the film its weight. Then comes the mood. Sticky, claustrophobic, and charged. It's all about atmosphere. The director uses lighting to incredible effect, often bathing scenes in harsh, artificial fluorescence that make every environment feel sterile and cold. And when he does go natural, it's not golden hour glamour. It's overcast skies, harsh deserts, and rain-soaked outposts. You never feel comfortable. And that's the point. The mood is an extension of the character's mental state. Paranoia, dread, quiet desperation. It hangs in the air like the scent of gunpowder. You can practically feel the grime under your fingernails. Now let's talk about the real craft. Stylistic choices. This is where the director really flexes. There's a noticeable refusal to glamorize violence. Every gunshot feels thunderous. Every kill feels ugly. Blood isn't splashed around for spectacle. It's minimal, sudden, and shockingly intimate. The camera lingers on the aftermath. Bodies don't just drop, they collapse, often in slow, excruciating silence. These choices force the audience to confront the reality of combat, not just cheer at the choreography. Shot composition is another playground where the director makes magic. During tense moments, the frame tightens uncomfortably. Characters are boxed in by shadows, blinds, doorways, visual metaphors for the mental prisons they're stuck in. When the perspective shifts to sniper scope views, the imagery becomes hauntingly precise. You're watching people become targets. Human silhouettes in the distance, just one breath away from disappearing. The camera's stillness in those moments is chilling. It becomes voyeuristic. And the director leans into that discomfort, never letting you forget the power dynamic in play. Pacing-wise, it's a masterclass in restraint. This isn't a film that sprints from set piece to set piece. It breathes. It stalks. And then when the time is right, it strikes. The slow build is intentional. It mirrors a sniper's process. Spot, wait, breathe, shoot. You're dragged through long, tense conversations, stakeouts that test your patience, and then, bang, it all unravels in a blur of violence. But even in chaos, the pacing never loses its rhythm. The director times everything like a precision clock. Slow, slow, fast. Wait, wait. Fire. The rhythm gets under your skin. You feel like you're being hunted right along with the characters. Then there's the director's narrative vision, which is arguably the most compelling part. This isn't just about stopping a threat or completing a mission. The story is about legacy, how violence ripples across generations, how trauma is passed down like a family heirloom. The protagonist is a man caught between his past and the present, navigating a world that has moved on without him, yet still demands his violence. The antagonist isn't just a bad guy with a rifle. It's a manifestation of all the choices the protagonist didn't make, all the consequences he tried to bury. The director weaves this through subtle flashbacks, character parallels, and recurring imagery. A cracked photo, a broken dog tag, the eerie echo of a past radio transmission. It's psychological warfare, not just for the characters, but for the audience. And it's not just about individual emotion. It's about global context. The director uses brief but powerful visual cues to hint at the larger machinery of conflict. Drones circling like vultures. Politicians speaking in sound bites on distant TV screens. Maps strewn across command centers. It's not heavy-handed, but it reminds you, this isn't just personal. It's political. It's systemic. It's endless. What truly seals the experience is how all these elements, tone, mood, style, pacing, narrative, are orchestrated in harmony. The director doesn't let one dominate. Instead, they feed each other. The slow pacing builds the mood. The mood reinforces the tone. The tone shapes the narrative. And through it all, the director keeps a steady hand on the trigger, never rushing, never wasting a frame. Every choice feels earned. Every silence, every stare, every shot. It all adds up to a story that's as psychological as it is tactical. So if you came to Sniper, The Last Stand expecting just bullets and bravado, the director has other plans for you. You'll get the gunfights, sure, but they come wrapped in layers of dread, meaning, and haunting quiet. You don't walk away from this one cheering. You walk away changed. Let's really drill into it, because the cinematography in Sniper, The Last Stand isn't just well done, it's obsessive in its craft, almost predatory in how it stalks your attention. You can feel it in your spine before you even register what you're looking at. The film doesn't use the camera to simply show what's happening. It uses it to manipulate what you feel. It guides your eye like a scope guides a bullet. Every pan, every tilt, every flicker of light is calculated for maximum narrative damage. Starting with camera angles, this is where the film sets its psychological trap. You're never on equal ground with the characters. Literally. There's a consistent strategic use of canted angles and slightly off-axis compositions that make the world feel just a bit unstable. Not in-your-face Dutch tilts, but subtle warps in perspective that make your stomach shift a little. When a character walks into a hostile area, the camera doesn't meet them level. It's low, it's suspicious, it's crawling behind them like a ghost. And then, when they're in a moment of power or threat, the angle flips. Now it's looking down, reminding you that someone always has the high ground. You're never safe, and the camera makes sure you know that without anyone needing to say it aloud. One brilliant sequence places the camera at waist level, following a soldier through a hallway. Not quite a POV, but eerily intimate. You feel like you're right there behind them. Your breath catching every time they turn a corner. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's immersive in a way that makes your palms sweat. And then, without warning, you're outside the building, watching the same hallway through a sniper scope, distant and detached. The shift is disorienting on purpose. 1 second you're in the crosshairs, the next you are the crosshairs. That dual perspective is threaded through the entire film. The cinematography puts you on both ends of the rifle. Lighting in this film is its own kind of psychological warfare. It's not just about visibility. It's about emotional clarity. Or lack of it. Harsh, single-source lights are used to create stark divisions in characters' faces. Half in light, half in shadow, as if they're constantly one decision away from becoming the villain. It's never soft. Even the daylight scenes have a washed-out, overexposed sharpness to them, like the sun is glaring at you through a sniper's scope. At night, the palette shifts to deep blues and muddy blacks. This isn't the slick, stylized neon night of a glossy action movie. It's dirty, it's tactile, and it feels like it smells of rust and fear. But then come the quiet moments, the ones that make your breath catch for a different reason. There's a scene mid-film, where two characters speak by the flicker of a dying campfire. The flames cast jittery, trembling shadows that feel almost alive, like ghosts dancing on the edge of the frame. The way the light bends across their faces reveals every pore, every twitch, every unspoken regret. You almost forget there's a war going on. It's quiet. Intimate. And then, snap, a sharp cut to a distant figure watching them through night vision. The lighting turns alien, harsh green, digitized. Suddenly you're reminded, peace is an illusion, always one heartbeat away from vanishing. Now on to framing. And this is where the cinematography turns poetic. Framing isn't just compositional here. It's metaphorical. It's thematic. Characters are often shot through obstacles. Doorways, windows, broken walls, sniper scopes, even the ribcage of a collapsed structure. It gives the impression that everyone is caged, watched, or targeted. One particularly brilliant shot frames a soldier in the reflection of a cracked rearview mirror as he contemplates his mission. You're seeing him not just fractured, but distorted, literally fragmented by the choices he's made. It's a visual thesis statement, and the film is full of them if you know where to look. The cinematographer also loves symmetry, but not in a clean Wes Anderson kind of way. It's tense symmetry. Opposing forces squared off across the frame, two characters positioned like chess pieces, each waiting for the other to move. This kind of visual mirroring is used often in sniper standoffs, where both shooter and target are locked in mutual observation. The camera doesn't pick a side, it hovers in no man's land, letting you feel the terror of both perspectives. The tension doesn't come from what happens. It comes from what could happen, and the cinematography leans into that by freezing moments, framing hesitation, holding just a second too long on a glance, a breath, a bead of sweat sliding down a temple. And let's not forget the long shots, the kind that feel like a sniper's dream. Vast, open landscapes, war-scarred and bleak, where a single figure moves like a ghost on the horizon. These are the film's quietest but most devastating moments. There's a scene where a convoy crawls through a canyon, dwarfed by the jagged cliffs around it. The camera perches high above, unmoving. It doesn't feel majestic. It feels ominous. Like the rocks themselves are holding their breath, waiting for the echo of a gunshot. Then there are the moments that break the visual rhythm, used sparingly, which is what makes them hit harder. A sudden handheld sequence in the middle of a firefight, where the camera shakes, jumps, stumbles, chaos distilled into visuals. A tracking shot that weaves through a crumbling building as a character navigates a trap-ridden hallway. Or that one gloriously controlled moment where a sniper reloads in slow motion, dust catching the sunlight in a golden haze. A visual reminder that even killing can be beautiful, and that's what makes it so horrifying. The cinematography in Sniper: The Last Stand is not just about what's visible. It's about what's felt. It uses visual language to speak the unspeakable, to tell you what the characters won't say out loud. Regret, fear, fury, futility. It's all there, buried in the angles, the lighting, the silence between the edits. You don't just see this film. You live in it. You crawl through it. You aim with it. And when it's over, the imagery stays with you like the ghost of a mission you weren't ready for. Let's kick it up a notch and really unpack how editing and pacing fuel Sniper: The Last Stand like the internal mechanics of a precision rifle. Quiet, hidden, but absolutely essential to the kill shot. Because underneath all the gritty action and somber standoffs, the film is running on a rhythm. One that the editor controls with sniper-level accuracy. This isn't just about making sure scenes connect. It's about making sure every beat lands, every cut stings, and every silence screams. The editing here doesn't hide in the background. It hunts. The film's overall flow is fascinating because it doesn't settle into a predictable cadence. There's a deliberate refusal to lock into a neat, repetitive pace. It ebbs and crashes like a tide, and that's completely intentional. The editor understands something most action thrillers forget. Warfare, especially sniper warfare, is not about constant chaos. It's about stillness interrupted by violence. That paradox is baked into the pacing from the very first scene. You get slow, creeping build-ups, almost meditative in their quietness, followed by violent bursts of action that feel like whiplash. It's not jarring, it's earned. That's the key. The editor stretches tension just far enough to make your nerves itch, then slices it with a shot, a movement, or a sharp transition that resets everything. Let's talk about those transitions, because they are weapons of their own. The film moves from scene to scene with this eerie smoothness, often without traditional cues. You'll be mid-scene, deep in a conversation, and suddenly we're in a sniper's POV a continent away. But the shift isn't confusing. It's seamless. The editor uses sound bridges, environmental cues, or visual echoes to glide across time and space. A character clutches a photo, and the next scene is that same photo buried in rubble halfway across the globe. A door slams in one timeline, and we're opening a hatch in another. These transitions are like covert insertions. You don't even notice the movement until you realize you're in a completely different location, carrying the emotional residue with you. One of the film's most distinctive editorial tricks is how it plays with psychological pacing. There are moments where time seems to bend. You'll get sequences that unfold in what feels like real time. A character creeping down a hallway, counting seconds, listening for footsteps. These scenes stretch, not because nothing's happening, but because the editor wants you inside the character's head. You feel the drag of anticipation, the weight of dread. And then snap, it breaks. A shot rings out, a door explodes, the pace jolts into overdrive. But here's the brilliant part. It never feels like two different movies. It feels like one mind under pressure. The rhythm shifts because the characters' realities shift. The film's use of cross-cutting deserves serious credit too. It's never lazy. It doesn't cut between action sequences just to fill time or raise stakes arbitrarily. When the editor cross-cuts, it's to layer tension. A sniper breathing slowly, lining up a shot, is intercut with a soldier unknowingly stepping into the kill zone. You're watching two timelines close in on each other, knowing they're seconds from collision, but powerless to stop it. That kind of editing creates dread, not just suspense. It builds an emotional tempo. You feel the inevitability of violence before it arrives, and the cut that finally unites those timelines hits like a gunshot. Not just orally, but emotionally. And the emotional rhythm? This is where the pacing quietly devastates you. The editor knows exactly when to slow everything to a crawl, letting grief or reflection flood the screen. There's a moment after a major loss where the film just sits. The camera doesn't move. There's barely any sound. You're locked into a character's broken expression for what feels like an eternity. The scene refuses to give you relief, because the character doesn't have any. That decision, to pause, to linger, is a bold one. Most action films would be racing to the next mission, the next explosion. This one makes you feel the loss, and the editor makes sure you don't escape it too soon. And when the film finally picks up again, the emotional residue colors everything that follows. Even the action sequences follow a different tempo than what you'd expect from a standard thriller. They're not cut to the rhythm of a pounding score or flashy visual gimmicks. They're cut to the rhythm of decision-making. In one sniper duel, the cuts slow down dramatically. Not because there's no movement, but because every decision matters. Where do you aim? When do you breathe? Do you wait for a clearer shot or take the risk now? The editing mirrors this decision tree. You're not just watching an action scene. You're participating in it, calculating with the character, breathing with them, flinching when they flinch. When the shot finally comes, it feels like a climax of thought, not just violence. And yet, the film is never sluggish. That's the magic trick. Even during its slowest scenes, you're engaged. The editor is constantly layering micro-tensions under the surface. A conversation might seem calm, but the camera lingers just a bit too long on someone's hand twitching. Or a drone of ambient sound starts to rise beneath dialogue, making you feel like something's off. The pacing knows how to use silence like a sniper uses a suppressor. Deadly, precise, and chilling. Every sequence has a rhythm that matches its emotional weight. Intimate character scenes are slow, careful, and observational. Tactical movement scenes have a staccato rhythm, quick cuts, clipped sound design, tightly controlled. And climactic confrontations? They go into overdrive, but never spiral into chaos. The editor maintains spatial clarity, emotional continuity, and narrative focus even when the bullets start flying. That kind of clarity in high-stress sequences is rare, and it's achieved not just through shot selection, but through editorial discipline. Nothing is wasted. Every cut is a choice. Every beat counts. The pacing doesn't just control how fast the story moves. It controls how it hits you. Emotionally, physically, mentally. It makes sure you're not just watching a sniper flick. You're inside one. You're moving to its rhythm, breathing to its tempo, and reeling from its shocks. The editor isn't just cutting film. They're setting the clock on a bomb, handing it to the audience, and daring them to hold it. Tick, tick, tick. The soundtrack and score of Sniper, The Last Stand operate like a stealthy operative lurking in the shadows, unseen but always present, shaping the atmosphere and steering your emotions without ever shouting for attention. Unlike many action films that lean on bombastic pulse-pounding tracks to hype up every moment, this score prefers subtlety and restraint, much like the sniper at the center of the story. It's a masterclass in how music can act like an emotional puppet master, pulling strings beneath the surface to heighten tension, deepen mood, and amplify storytelling with a whisper instead of a roar. One of the most fascinating aspects is how the composer uses recurring motifs as sonic fingerprints scattered throughout the film. These aren't catchy themes you hum on the way out of the theater. They're faint musical ideas, almost subliminal, that build a subconscious connection to characters and emotions. A simple, sparse piano phrase or a low, vibrating drone might first appear during a scene of quiet contemplation or a tactical wait, and then subtly morph or intensify as the stakes rise. It's as if the score is quietly narrating the sniper's inner world, the weight of every decision, the patience and the isolation, the burden of aiming a rifle and the split-second judgment calls that can mean life or death. These motifs evolve over time, sometimes barely noticeable, other times swelling into more prominent cues that pull you deeper into the protagonist's mindset. The blending of organic and electronic elements in the score is another stroke of genius. Instead of relying solely on traditional orchestral instruments, the soundtrack frequently melds natural sounds, like distant wind, rustling leaves, or subtle ambient noises, with eerie synthesized tones and mechanical hums. This creates a layered, textured soundscape that mirrors the film's tension between human vulnerability and cold, precise technology. It's like the music itself is a stealth drone, hovering invisibly over the landscape of the story, alert to every movement and threat. This fusion gives the film an unsettling undercurrent, a sense that danger is always lurking just beyond the edge of your hearing. Silence plays an equally important role, and here the score's restraint shines brightest. The music knows exactly when to pull back and let quiet reign, especially during moments of intense anticipation or psychological pressure. When the sniper waits, lining up a shot in the dead silence of the battlefield, the absence of music creates a vacuum where every small sound becomes amplified. A breath caught, the faintest rustle of clothing, the distant hum of a city. These silences aren't just empty spaces. They are charged, pregnant pauses that stretch your nerves taut. The editor and composer trust the audience enough to sit in these uncomfortable moments, to feel the weight of waiting and the razor-thin margin between life and death. It's a brilliant use of negative space in music, turning silence into a powerful storytelling device. When the music does swell, it's with a cold, minimalist elegance that perfectly suits the film's tone. Instead of grandiose, sweeping melodies, the score uses deep, resonant strings, soft but insistent percussion, and slow-building electronic pulses that feel like the tightening grip of a sniper's fingers on a rifle. These musical elements mimic the slow, deliberate countdown to a shot, the meticulous calculation and mental focus required to execute a mission perfectly. The score's pacing and dynamics mirror the film's tension curve. Gradual builds that peak with sharp, sudden impacts and then recede into quiet again. It's less about excitement and more about the crushing emotional and psychological weight carried by the characters. The soundtrack also embraces a futuristic, almost industrial edge, blending classical orchestral instruments with modern electronic textures. This hybrid sound reflects the film's thematic mix of timeless human struggle and cutting-edge technology. It's as if the music lives at the crossroads between a classic war movie and a high-tech thriller, reinforcing the duality of the sniper's world. The raw human emotion beneath the cold steel precision of their craft. Brass and strings provide emotional depth and warmth, while synths and electronic beats inject an unsettling mechanical urgency that keeps you on edge. Sound design and score dance seamlessly together throughout the film. Gunshots, footsteps, distant explosions, and the hum of machinery don't compete with the music. Instead, they weave in and out, sometimes amplified by subtle musical echoes, sometimes left starkly alone to punch through the silence. This careful interplay creates a rich sonic tapestry where the line between music and environment blurs. It feels immersive and real, like the score is part of the world itself, a breathing extension of the battlefield. In the quieter, more intimate scenes, the music softens dramatically. Delicate piano melodies, gentle synth washes, and airy string harmonics underscore the characters' vulnerabilities and moments of reflection without ever overpowering them. The score respects the silences between notes, allowing the emotional resonance of a glance, a sigh, or a memory to linger. It knows when to step back and let the story's emotional core shine through unadorned, proving that sometimes the most powerful music is the music you almost don't hear. The soundtrack also excels at supporting the film's emotional beats with perfect timing. When tension spikes, the music tightens like a noose, pulling you in with rising drones or quickening rhythms that echo a heartbeat racing faster. When tragedy strikes, the score shifts to mournful, slow-moving passages that envelop you in sorrow. During moments of hope or determination, subtle uplifting tones flicker through the texture, reminding you of the humanity beneath the sniper's cold exterior. The music is a constant emotional companion, guiding you through peaks and valleys without ever feeling manipulative. Overall, the music in Sniper, The Last Stand is a study in contrasts, quiet and loud, organic and synthetic, presence and absence, working together to create an atmosphere that's taut with suspense and rich with emotion. It's not just background filler. It's an integral part of the film's storytelling machinery. The score creeps, whispers, and occasionally strikes with a surgical precision that mirrors the very subject of the film. It invites you to listen closely, not just to what's played, but to what's held back. And in doing so, it deepens your immersion into a world where every sound matters, every silence is dangerous, and every note could be the calm before the storm. Alright, buckle up, movie buffs and action aficionados, because we're diving deep into the trenches of Sniper, The Last Stand 2025. Forget your conventional reviews. We're here to dissect the very heart of this film, to unearth the hidden gems and explore the thought-provoking ideas it throws our way. And trust me, it's more than just bullets and bad guys. First off, let's talk about the raw, visceral theme of survival against overwhelming odds. This isn't just about good guys versus bad guys. It's about a small, determined unit facing a force that seems utterly unstoppable. The film masterfully builds this tension, constantly reminding us that our heroes are outgunned, outmanned, and frankly, running on fumes. You feel every dwindling round of ammo, every near miss, every desperate scramble for cover. It's not a gentle stroll through a park. It's a desperate fight for every inch of ground, every breath. Does it effectively communicate this? Absolutely. From the relentless pacing to the sheer scale of the enemy forces, you're left with no doubt that these characters are truly on the last stand. It's not forced, it's the very pulse of the narrative. But beyond the immediate thrill of survival, the film delves into the fascinating territory of leadership under immense pressure. Our main man, Brandon Beckett, isn't just a sharpshooter anymore. He's calling the shots, mentoring an untested sniper, and trying to keep his team alive when everything is falling apart. We see him grappling with the weight of command, the impossible choices, and the profound responsibility for the lives under his care. This isn't some Hollywood-glossed leadership. It's gritty, messy, and deeply human. Does it resonate? You bet. You find yourself rooting for Beckett not just as a hero, but as a leader who's learning on the fly, making difficult decisions that have real, immediate consequences. And here's where Sniper, The Last Stand pulls a fast one on you, in the best possible way. The film cleverly plays with the very expectations of a long-running action franchise. Just when you think you know the playbook, just when you settle into that comfortable familiarity, it yanks the rug right out from under you. There's a particular twist, a genuinely audacious narrative shock, that completely reorients your understanding of the threat and the stakes. It's not just a cheap jump scare. It's a bold move that redefines the meaning of last stand for these characters. This unexpected turn leaves a lasting impression because it challenges the audience's assumptions and shows that even in a well-established series, there's room for genuine surprise and thematic depth. It underlines the sheer, brutal reality of the enemy's power and the sacrifices required. This isn't forced at all. It's a brilliant narrative choice that invigorates the entire film. The film also subtly explores the theme of the cost of war and the toll it takes on individuals. While it's an action film, it doesn't shy away from showing the physical and emotional exhaustion, the sacrifices made, and the profound impact of constant combat. It's not preachy, but it's there in the weary eyes of the soldiers, the moments of quiet desperation, and the sheer tenacity required to keep going. So while you're gripping the edge of your seat, watching the explosive action unfold, remember that Sniper, The Last Stand 2025 is doing more than just entertaining you. It's exploring the enduring power of survival, the burden of leadership, and the exhilarating jolt of unexpected narrative turns. It effectively communicates these themes by weaving them into the very fabric of its high-octane plot, leaving you with a lasting impression that goes beyond the satisfying explosions. It's a blast, yes, but it's also a smart, surprising ride that makes you think. Alright, film fanatics, let's talk about the eye candy, or lack thereof, in Sniper, The Last Stand 2025. Visual effects and CGI can make or break an action movie, right? They can pull you into the chaos or yank you right out with a glaringly fake explosion. So, how does this film stack up? Here's the deal. Sniper, The Last Stand 2025 mostly plays it smart. This isn't a blockbuster with a 9-figure budget, and it knows it. Instead of trying to create entire armies out of pixels, which often ends up looking like a video game cutscene from a decade ago, the film leans heavily on a fantastic marriage of practical effects and well-integrated digital enhancements. Let's talk practical first, because that's where the film truly shines. When bullets fly, you often see legitimate squibs going off, creating those satisfying tangible bursts of dust and debris as rounds impact walls and bodies. When vehicles explode, There's a real sense of concussive force and flying shrapnel, suggesting that actual pyrotechnics were involved. This commitment to practical effects for the immediate, in-your-face action scenes is crucial for immersion. It grounds the film in a gritty reality. You feel the impact, you wince at the close calls, because what you're seeing feels genuinely dangerous. Director Danishka Esterhazy has even mentioned her preference for practical blood and muzzle flashes, stating that they're more visceral and look better, a detail that truly pays off on screen. Now, where does CGI come in? It's predominantly used for environmental extensions, larger-scale destruction, and perhaps some digital compositing to expand the scope of battlefields or to show widespread devastation. For instance, when an entire area is decimated by a weapon, the digital effects are there to convey that massive scale. The key is that these effects generally blend well. They're not constantly shouting, "Look at me! I'm CGI." They serve the story, showing the overwhelming force the protagonists are up against, rather than drawing attention to themselves. You're absorbed in the plight of the characters, not critiquing the pixel count of a distant explosion. However, like any film, there are moments where the digital polish isn't quite seamless. Sometimes, a distant explosion might lack the same weight as a closer, practical one, or a specific bullet impact might appear a touch too clean. These are minor quibbles though, and they rarely detract from the overall experience. The film understands its lane. It prioritizes tangible action over photorealistic digital spectacles. It's not trying to fool you into thinking you're watching a multi-million-dollar VFX extravaganza. It's giving you a solid, grounded action experience where the effects serve the narrative rather than dominating it. What's particularly engaging about the effects here is that they enhance the sense of dread and desperation. The scale of the enemy forces, often conveyed through digital numbers of combatants, reinforces the last stand aspect. When a building collapses or a wide area is engulfed in chaos, the CGI effectively conveys the destructive power that our heroes are trying to survive. It's not just pretty pictures. It's a visual representation of the overwhelming odds. So in the grand arena of visual effects, Sniper, The Last Stand 2025 isn't aiming for awards, but it hits its target. It knows its strengths, relying heavily on the visceral impact of practical effects for close-quarters combat and using CGI as a smart, supportive tool to expand the scope and intensify the stakes. The result is a film that keeps you immersed in the gritty reality of its world, allowing the action to feel impactful and the danger truly palpable, without ever feeling like the visual trickery is stealing the show. It's a testament to effective filmmaking that understands how to maximize its resources for maximum immersion. Alright, cinephiles and armchair architects, let's talk about the unsung heroes of Sniper, The Last Stand 2025, the set design, locations, and overall production wizardry. Because let's be real, a great action movie isn't just about the booms and bangs. It's about the world those booms and bangs happen in. Does Sniper, The Last Stand build a believable playground for its mayhem, or does it feel like a cardboard box with some spray paint? First off, the film absolutely nails the feeling of gritty, war-torn realism. Forget your pristine, untouched landscapes. The world of Sniper, The Last Stand is a place that has clearly seen better days, and probably a lot of ordnance. The buildings are worn, often partially destroyed, and covered in the dust and debris of conflict. This isn't just aesthetic. It tells a story. Every cracked window, every crumbling wall, every overturned vehicle speaks volumes about the constant state of siege these characters are living under. This detailed decay immediately pulls you into the film's desperate atmosphere. It doesn't feel like a studio backlit. It feels like real locations that have been through the ringer. The locations themselves are visually compelling and add significant depth. We're not just in generic desert town A. The film utilizes a variety of environments that feel distinct and serve the narrative. From tight, claustrophobic urban ruins that force close-quarters combat to expansive, desolated industrial zones that lend themselves to long-range sniper duels. Each setting feels purpose-built for the action unfolding within it. There's a particular sequence set in what looks like an abandoned factory or processing plant, and the decaying machinery, the metallic clang of footsteps, and the labyrinthine pathways perfectly amplify the tension of a cat-and-mouse game. These aren't just backdrops. They're active participants in the struggle, providing cover, restricting movement, or opening up lines of sight. And let's not forget the props and dressing. This is where the meticulous detail really shines through. Look closely and you'll notice the little things. The authentic gear the soldiers carry, the way their uniforms are realistically scuffed and dirty. No immaculate fatigues here. The precise weaponry that feels heavy and real in their hands. Even the subtle details of discarded ammunition, makeshift barricades, or forgotten personal effects in the background contribute to the lived-in feel of the world. It's not just a collection of random items. It's a carefully curated environment that suggests a history and a constant struggle. This attention to detail in the props ensures that nothing pulls you out of the moment. You believe these are real soldiers in a real, incredibly dangerous situation. The comparison between pristine and battle-scarred environments is also expertly handled. When our heroes initially set up, there might be a semblance of order, but as the conflict escalates, the visual deterioration of their surroundings mirrors the increasing desperation of their situation. This progression isn't subtle. It's a visual metaphor for the relentless pressure they endure. The changing landscape isn't just a change of scenery. It's a direct reflection of the narrative's intensity. So, is the production design successful? Absolutely. Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 doesn't rely on flashy, overly stylized sets. Instead, it commits to a raw, authentic aesthetic that makes its believable world feel tangible and immediate. The locations aren't just pretty pictures. They're integral to the storytelling, shaping the action and intensifying the stakes. You're not just watching a movie. You're stepping into a meticulously crafted war-torn reality where every crumbling wall and every piece of scattered debris tells a part of the desperate last stand. It's a testament to how good design can elevate an action film from merely entertaining to truly immersive. Alright, language lovers and word nerds, let's pull out our magnifying glasses and dissect the dialogue and script of Sniper: The Last Stand 2025. Because while explosions are great, it's the words that often stick with you, the sharp lines that define a character, or the quiet exchanges that hit you right in the feels. So, does this film hit its mark with the spoken word, or does it miss wide? First off, let's talk about naturalism. In a high-stakes military action film, you want dialogue that sounds like real people talking under immense pressure, not like actors reading from a teleprompter. Sniper: The Last Stand largely succeeds here. The exchanges between the soldiers are often terse, efficient, and filled with a kind of weary familiarity. They don't waste words, which makes perfect sense for people whose lives depend on clear, concise communication. You get the sense that these characters have been through a lot together, and their shorthand speaks volumes. The banter, when it occurs, is usually dry and grounded in their shared experience, avoiding anything overly theatrical. This grounded approach makes the characters feel more authentic and the situations more believable. But natural doesn't mean boring. The script often finds moments of sharp wit and gallows humor. These aren't laugh-out-loud jokes, but rather a coping mechanism for individuals facing unimaginable danger. It's the kind of dark humor that arises in extreme circumstances, a quick, biting remark that breaks the tension for a fleeting second before the next wave of chaos hits. These moments are expertly placed, providing a crucial human touch amidst the relentless action. They serve as a reminder that even in the face of death, there's still a spark of humanity, a need to connect and find some dark amusement in the absurdity of their situation. Where the script truly shines, however, is in its moments of emotional weight and impactful writing. While this isn't a sprawling character drama, the film understands that even in an action film, character development happens in the crucible of conflict. There are exchanges, particularly between Brandon Beckett and his new protégé, that carry a surprising amount of gravitas. These aren't long drawn-out monologues, but rather concise, powerful lines that convey mentorship, frustration, and the heavy burden of command. You feel the weight of Beckett's experience, the responsibility he feels for the lives of those under his charge. There's a particular line, uttered in a moment of near defeat, that succinctly captures the sheer desperation and resilience of their last stand. It's not preachy, but it resonates deeply, defining the core spirit of survival. Are there standalone lines that define the film? Absolutely. Without giving too much away, there are specific tactical commands that become almost like catchphrases, imbuing a sense of urgency and precision. But beyond the purely functional, there are lines that encapsulate the film's themes of survival, sacrifice, and the relentless nature of the enemy. They're not necessarily grand pronouncements, but rather concise statements that reveal character, or express the grim reality of their situation. They stick with you because they feel earned, delivered in moments of high tension or quiet reflection that give them added significance. The script also masterfully uses dialogue to reveal plot points and character motivations without resorting to clunky exposition. Information is often conveyed through organic conversations, heated arguments, or quick, tactical briefings. This keeps the pacing tight and ensures that every spoken word contributes to the narrative progression or character understanding. So, when it comes to dialogue and script, Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 is far from a misfire. It delivers naturalistic, often terse exchanges that feel authentic to its military setting. It injects moments of sharp wit and impactful emotional weight that deepen the characters and themes. And yes, it lands some truly memorable lines that perfectly encapsulate the desperation, resilience, and unyielding spirit of those fighting their final battle. It's a script that knows how to load its words with meaning, making every syllable count. Alright, action aficionados and genre connoisseurs, let's put Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 under the microscope and see how it dances with the conventions of its very specific genre. Does it play by the rules, twist them into pretzels, or completely rewrite the playbook? Now, let's be honest, the sniper subgenre within military action films comes with its own well-worn blueprint. You expect precision shooting, tense stakeouts, a protagonist who's a master of stealth and long-range kills, and often, a small team facing overwhelming odds. Sniper: The Last Stand definitely embraces these core conventions with gusto. You get the satisfying headshots, the methodical tracking of targets, and the palpable tension of waiting for the perfect moment to pull the trigger. It understands what fans come to see in a sniper film, and it delivers on that promise with satisfying action sequences that showcase the titular skill. However, where the film gets interesting is in how it subtly, yet effectively, subverts certain expectations and introduces fresh ideas within that established framework. For instance, while Brandon Beckett is undoubtedly the seasoned marksman, the film doesn't solely rely on his individual heroics. It shifts the focus, pushing him into a more overt leadership role, which isn't always the traditional focus of a lone wolf sniper narrative. This move allows for a broader exploration of team dynamics, tactical decision-making under pressure, and the burden of command, rather than just showcasing one person's incredible aim. It takes a character we've seen evolve over several films and forces him into a new, more complex challenge. Furthermore, the film plays a fascinating game with the idea of the enemy. Without giving away too much, it doesn't just present a faceless generic foe. There's a narrative twist, a revelation about the antagonist, that significantly elevates the stakes and adds a layer of genuine surprise. This subversion of the typical bad guy trope elevates the conflict from a simple shoot-'em-up to something more psychologically impactful. It asks you to reassess your understanding of the threat, adding a fresh dimension to the last stand concept. This isn't a cliché. It's a clever manipulation of audience expectations that genuinely adds to the depth. In terms of balancing its various elements, Sniper: The Last Stand demonstrates a commendable command of its pacing. The film is, at its heart, an action thriller, and it maintains a relentless momentum. The action sequences are frequent, well choreographed, and genuinely exciting. The suspense is expertly woven throughout, particularly during the stealth and tracking sequences, which are punctuated by moments of explosive chaos. Where it also excels is in integrating drama and emotional weight without ever letting it overwhelm the action. The dramatic moments, often involving the harsh realities of their desperate situation or the personal stakes for the characters, are concise and impactful. They land their emotional punches without resorting to prolonged, sappy scenes. This balance ensures that you care about the characters and their plight, making the action all the more meaningful, without ever slowing down the forward propulsion of the narrative. Humor, as discussed before, is sparingly used, often as gallows humor, fitting the grim context, rather than trying to force comedic relief where it doesn't belong. So, is Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 a revolutionary departure from its genre? No, and it doesn't try to be. But does it simply rehash old clichés? Absolutely not. It successfully embraces the core conventions that define the sniper film while cleverly injecting fresh ideas and subverting expectations where it counts. It balances its action, suspense, and emotional beats with a seasoned hand, creating a cohesive, immersive, and genuinely exciting experience that feels both familiar and surprisingly fresh within its established genre. It's a film that knows how to hit its marks, both literally and thematically. Alright, culture critics and armchair philosophers, let's pull back the curtain on Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 and see if it's secretly dropping some truth bombs about our world. Does this action-packed ride have something to say about contemporary issues, politics, or culture, or is it just happy to let the bullets do all the talking? Now let's be clear. Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 isn't exactly a documentary disguised as an action film. It's not going to halt the action for a TED Talk on geopolitical tensions or a nuanced debate on global warming. Its primary goal is to deliver intense military action and a thrilling survival narrative. However, like many good genre films, it does offer some subtle, and sometimes less subtle, commentary woven naturally into its fabric, without ever feeling forced or preachy. One of the most striking, yet understated, social commentaries lies in the film's depiction of the changing nature of warfare and the globalized threat. The enemy in Sniper. The Last Stand isn't a single, easily identifiable nation-state. Instead, it hints at a more diffuse, technologically advanced, and globally interconnected adversary. This subtly reflects contemporary concerns about non-state actors, cyber warfare, and the difficulty of containing threats that don't respect national borders. The film highlights how modern conflict can erupt anywhere, at any time, and involve unexpected, sophisticated technologies. This theme isn't explicitly stated, but it's evident in the sheer adaptability and ubiquitous presence of the enemy, and how they challenge traditional military responses. It feels incredibly timely, almost like it's saying, "This isn't your grandfather's war." Another intriguing aspect is the implied commentary on resource scarcity and territorial disputes, though again, it's integrated into the plot rather than being a central discussion point. The why behind the conflict, while not overly detailed, often points to control over vital assets or strategic locations. This taps into real-world anxieties about competition for dwindling resources and the conflicts that can arise from such pressures. It's not a heavy-handed environmental message, but it suggests the underlying drivers of the escalating chaos the characters find themselves in. The film also offers a quiet nod to the psychological toll of prolonged conflict and the concept of the last stand as a societal metaphor. While focused on individual soldiers, the relentless pressure they face and the desperate, almost hopeless situation they're in can be seen as a reflection of broader societal anxieties about facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. It touches on themes of resilience, perseverance, and sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds, which resonates beyond the battlefield. It's not just about military last stands. It's about any group or individual facing a perceived existential threat. This theme is handled effectively by showcasing the sheer human endurance of the characters, making it feel authentic to their experience rather than a didactic lesson. Furthermore, there's a subtle exploration of technology's double-edged sword. While our heroes utilize advanced equipment, the film also showcases how rapidly evolving technology can be weaponized and used by adversaries in devastating ways. This reflects ongoing societal debates about the ethical implications of technological advancements and how they reshape security landscapes. It's not a Luddite message, but a recognition that powerful tools can be wielded by anyone, for any purpose. So, while Sniper, The Last Stand 2025 won't be winning any awards for deep philosophical discourse, it absolutely makes statements on contemporary issues. These themes, the evolving nature of global threats, resource competition, the psychological toll of conflict, and the double-edged sword of technology, are seamlessly woven into the high-octane narrative. They don't feel forced because they arise naturally from the plot and the desperate circumstances of the characters. The film handles these complex topics by presenting them as inherent aspects of the challenging world it creates, rather than through overt messaging. It's a compelling example of how an entertaining action movie can still offer a relevant, thought-provoking glimpse into the anxieties and realities of our modern world, all while keeping your adrenaline pumping. Alright, everyone gather round, because we're about to delve into the beating heart of Sniper, The Last Stand 2025. Its ability to grab you by the emotional lapels and not let go. We're talking about that visceral gut-level connection that separates a good enough movie from one that really sticks with you. So, does this film hit its emotional targets, or does it leave us feeling, well, nothing? Let's be honest, for an action movie, especially one in the Sniper franchise, the primary goal isn't usually to make you weep into your popcorn. But Sniper, The Last Stand absolutely delivers on excitement and shock in spades. From the moment the bullets start flying, your adrenaline is going to be surging. There are sequences so intense, so relentless, that you might find yourself unconsciously holding your breath, leaning forward in your seat, practically willing the characters to make it through. The sudden bursts of violence, the near misses, and the expertly choreographed close calls are designed to elicit a powerful, immediate rush. You're not just watching the action. You're feeling the immediacy of it. But it's not just about the big, loud moments. The film excels at creating palpable suspense and tension, which in turn, generates a strong emotional response. Those quiet, drawn-out sniper sequences, Where every rustle of wind or distant sound could betray a position, are masterclasses in building dread. You become acutely aware of the vulnerability of the characters, and that vulnerability makes every small victory feel monumental, and every setback feel truly devastating. You're invested in their survival, not just because they're the protagonists, but because the film effectively puts you in their shoes, even for a fleeting moment. Now, does it elicit tears? Probably not in the traditional sense. This isn't a melodrama. However, it does evoke a profound sense of empathy and admiration for resilience. When characters face seemingly insurmountable odds, when they're battered, exhausted, and seemingly on the brink of defeat, yet they still find a way to push forward, you can't help but feel a deep respect for their tenacity. There's a certain grim determination etched on their faces that speaks volumes, making you root for them on a deeper, more human level than just wanting the good guys to win. It's the quiet emotional weight of survival against all odds that truly resonates. And here's where Sniper: The Last Stand really shines in terms of inviting deeper engagement. The shocking narrative turns and the unexpected twists. As we've discussed before, this film pulls some fast ones. There are moments that genuinely catch you off guard, forcing you to reevaluate what you thought you knew. These aren't just cheap scares, they're bold story choices that make you gasp, rewind mentally, and then immediately want to discuss with anyone else who's seen it. Did you see that coming? What does that mean for X? These moments absolutely invite discussion and debate, especially about the nature of the enemy and the sacrifices involved. It's the kind of twist that makes you consider a repeat viewing, not just to re-experience the action, but to pick up on clues you might have missed the first time around. While it might not be a film that sends you into a week of deep existential reflection, it certainly leaves a lasting impression of raw endurance and unexpected narrative bravery. It's a film that respects its audience enough to give them more than just explosions. It gives them genuine tension, impactful moments of human grit, and plot developments that actively engage their brains. So, yes, Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 is designed to thrill and excite, but it also manages to emotionally resonate by tapping into our fundamental appreciation for courage, survival, and the sheer audacity of a story that isn't afraid to surprise you. You'll leave the theater not just satisfied, but genuinely buzzing from the ride. Alright, fellow film fanatics, let's play a game of How Does It Stack Up? With Sniper: The Last Stand 2025. When you're talking about a franchise that's been around the block more times than a seasoned veteran, it's fair to ask: does this entry hit new targets, or is it just reloading the same old clichés? First, let's consider its place within the venerable Sniper franchise itself. This isn't the first rodeo for Brandon Beckett, played by the ever-reliable Chad Michael Collins, who has truly become the torchbearer of this series. What's often remarkable about these later Sniper films, and The Last Stand is no exception, is their ability to deliver consistent, grounded military action on what are clearly not blockbuster budgets. They don't try to be Mission Impossible or John Wick, and that's their strength. They focus on the practicalities of small unit tactics, the intensity of marksmanship, and the grim reality of desperate situations. Where The Last Stand offers something genuinely new within the franchise is its bold willingness to disrupt the formula. Previous entries have often followed a more straightforward, hunt the target, or stop the bad guy narrative. This film, however, takes a surprisingly audacious turn, particularly around its midpoint. There's a plot development that literally pulls the rug out from under the characters, drastically altering the stakes and the nature of the threat. This isn't just a minor twist, it's a fundamental shift that forces the characters, and the audience, to reevaluate everything. This level of narrative bravery is quite refreshing for a long-running direct-to-video, or now, digital-first, franchise that could easily coast on formula. It demonstrates that the filmmakers are actively trying to keep things fresh and unpredictable for even the most dedicated fans. Now, let's cast our net wider and look at it standing against other films in the broader action genre. In a landscape filled with superhero blockbusters and CGI spectacles, Sniper: The Last Stand stands out by embracing a more gritty, practical, and boots-on-the-ground approach. It's less about fantastical acrobatics and more about the brutal reality of survival in a hostile environment. It evokes the spirit of classic action films where ingenuity and tactical prowess trump special powers. It doesn't rely on flashy, overly stylized action. It's about the visceral impact of each bullet, each explosion, and each desperate scramble for cover. This grounded realism helps it carve out its own niche amongst the more fantastical offerings. Comparing it to director Danishka Esterhazy's filmography is also quite interesting. Esterhazy comes from a background that includes thrillers and horror films, like Level 16 and the Banana Splits movie. This background actually lends itself well to The Last Stand's strengths. Her experience in building tension, creating suspense, and orchestrating moments of shock and dread in horror translates effectively to the action genre. She knows how to make you feel the danger and the claustrophobia of being hunted, and how to deliver impactful, brutal moments. While this might be her most action-heavy film, her directorial signatures of tight pacing and effective suspense building are clearly evident and elevate the material. It's not a generic action film. It has a distinct directorial hand that favors tension and grim reality. Does it follow familiar formulas? Yes, to an extent. It's still a story about military operatives facing a dangerous mission. You'll recognize elements of the underdog fight, the race against time, and the mentor-mentee dynamic. However, as discussed, it strategically subverts these familiar elements through its unexpected plot twist and its focus on Brandon Beckett's evolving leadership role. It reuses the ingredients but serves up a surprisingly different dish. So in the grand scheme of things, Sniper, The Last Stand 2025 isn't trying to reinvent the wheel, but it's certainly given it a fresh coat of paint and some surprisingly grippy new tires. It's a rock-solid entry in its franchise, offering fans the satisfying action they expect while also being brave enough to defy expectations with genuinely impactful narrative turns. It stands tall against its genre peers by focusing on grounded realism and suspense, benefiting greatly from a director who understands how to build palpable tension. It's a fun, engaging ride that proves there's still plenty of life, and surprises, left in this veteran series. Alright, riddle solvers and visual detectives, let's put on our thinking caps and dive into the deeper currents of Sniper, The Last Stand 2025. Because sometimes, a film isn't just about what you see on the surface. It's about the clever little breadcrumbs, the recurring ideas, and the hidden visual cues that elevate the whole experience. Does this movie play mind games with meaning, or is it just a straightforward bang-bang fest? Let's start with a prominent, almost inescapable symbol: the sniper's scope itself. It's more than just a tool for precise targeting. It's a powerful metaphor for focus, isolation, and a unique perspective. Through the scope, the world is reduced to a singular target, a precise problem to be solved. This symbolizes the sniper's role: to cut through the chaos and identify the critical point of attack. But it also represents their inherent isolation. They're often separated from their team, seeing the battle unfold from a detached, yet intimately deadly viewpoint. This motif enhances the themes of individual responsibility and the unique burden carried by someone who sees the battlefield in such a narrow, high-stakes way. Every time the film shifts to a scope view, it's not just showing you what the sniper sees. It's putting you into their mindset. Then there's the pervasive motif of decay and ruin. We talked about the set design, but visually, the crumbling infrastructure, the abandoned buildings, and the general state of disrepair become a powerful symbol of societal collapse and the fragility of order. It's not just a backdrop. It's a constant visual reminder that the world our heroes inhabit is one that has been shattered by conflict. This amplifies the sense of desperation and the feeling that they truly are fighting for the last stand of something. The slow, visual breakdown of the environment mirrors the increasing pressure and dwindling hope for the characters. It's a bleak, but effective visual storytelling device that underscores the film's core themes of survival against overwhelming odds. Another fascinating, albeit subtle, recurring visual cue is the use of light and shadow. Snipers, by nature, operate from concealed positions, often using the cover of darkness or deep shadow. The film frequently uses strong contrasts between light and dark, not just to create atmosphere, but to symbolize hidden threats and obscured truths. Enemies emerge from shadows, vital intelligence is often gleaned in dimly lit rooms, and even moments of reflection often occur in shaded areas. This visual motif enhances the suspense and the idea that the true nature of the adversary, and indeed the larger conflict, might be far more complex and hidden than initially appears. It's a visual nod to the unseen dangers and the constant need for vigilance. And what about the constant presence of technological communication and surveillance devices? Radios, drones, tactical displays. They are everywhere. These aren't just plot devices. They serve as a metaphor for the double-edged sword of modern warfare. While they offer crucial intelligence and communication, they also represent vulnerability to hacking, tracking, and information overload. It highlights how reliant modern combatants are on technology, and the terrifying prospect of that technology being turned against them. This motif strengthens the film's commentary on evolving warfare, where information and technological superiority are as crucial as firepower. Finally, consider the recurring visual of barricades and makeshift defenses. From overturned vehicles to piled-up rubble, the characters are constantly creating and moving between these improvised fortifications. This isn't just practical. It symbolizes the desperate human need to create boundaries and establish control in an uncontrollable situation. It's a visual representation of their fight for every inch of ground, their refusal to surrender, and their enduring will to protect themselves and each other. It's a powerful image of resilience, transforming debris into a testament to their unwavering resolve. So, for those who love to dig a little deeper, Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 is far more than just a straightforward action flick. It's layered with visual cues and recurring motifs, from the isolating precision of the sniper's scope to the stark symbolism of ruin and the ever-present shadow of technology. These elements aren't just there for show. They actively enhance the film's themes of survival, societal collapse, the nature of modern conflict, and the enduring human spirit. It's a testament to how even in a high-octane action film, clever visual storytelling can add significant depth and meaning, making the experience all the more compelling and thought-provoking. Alright, history buffs and franchise fanatics, let's zoom out and play Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 where it truly belongs, within the sprawling bullet-riddled tapestry of the Sniper film series. This isn't a standalone blockbuster. It's a new chapter in a long-running saga. So, how does it build on what came before, and what fresh tracks does it blaze for the future? First off, for anyone who's been following the Sniper saga, The Last Stand is a significant marker in the journey of our main man, Brandon Beckett. He's no longer just the son of the legendary Thomas Beckett, trying to make his own name. He's firmly established as a formidable sniper in his own right, but this film pushes him beyond mere marksmanship. It elevates him into a clear leadership role, a true commander of men under impossible circumstances. This is a crucial evolution for his character within the overarching narrative. We've seen him as a tactical expert, but here, he's making the tough calls, mentoring a new generation, and carrying the immense burden of his team's survival. This progression feels earned and adds considerable depth to a character we've watched grow across multiple films. It shows that even a seasoned veteran still has levels to unlock. Furthermore, The Last Stand meaningfully expands the scope and nature of the threats within the Sniper universe. The franchise has always dealt with various terrorist organizations, rogue agents, and international crises. However, this installment introduces an adversary that feels distinctly more advanced and, frankly, more terrifying than anything seen before. The scale of the enemy's capabilities and their technological sophistication represent a significant escalation in the danger level for the protagonists. This isn't just another mission. It feels like the universe itself is evolving to present a more pervasive and existential threat. This contribution to the overarching narrative is key because it prevents the series from becoming stagnant, constantly upping the ante for future installments. It pushes the boundaries of what a sniper film can be, moving beyond isolated incidents to a conflict with wider implications. What's particularly engaging about this film's place in the franchise is how it acknowledges its own history without being bogged down by it. You don't need to have seen every single sniper movie to enjoy The Last Stand, but if you have, the character developments and the increasing stakes resonate even more powerfully. There are subtle nods to past experiences, to the hard-earned lessons from previous missions, that add a layer of authenticity for longtime fans. It's like catching up with an old friend who's clearly been through a lot since you last saw them. In terms of offering something new, The Last Stand doesn't just rehash familiar plot beats. As discussed earlier, it dares to introduce a major narrative twist that profoundly reshapes the conflict. This isn't a minor diversion. It's a complete game-changer that sets this film apart from its predecessors. It shows a willingness to take risks with the established formula, ensuring that even veteran viewers of the series are kept on their toes. This kind of bold storytelling is a vital contribution to keeping a long-running franchise fresh and relevant. It proves that even a series known for its consistent formula can still deliver genuine surprises. So for those wondering how Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 fits into the grand scheme, it's a crucial entry that both honors its roots and bravely pushes the narrative forward. It significantly develops Brandon Beckett's character into a formidable leader, escalates the nature of the threats, and provides a fresh, surprising take on the traditional sniper mission structure. It's a compelling example of how a franchise can evolve and deepen its lore, ensuring that every Last Stand feels like a critical and engaging chapter in an ongoing epic. It's a blast for new viewers, and a rewarding ride for those who've been with the series from the beginning. Alright, money maestros and Hollywood accountants, let's pull back the curtain on the financial battlefield of Sniper: The Last Stand 2025. In the world of cinema, budget, box office, and buzz can be a tricky triple threat. So, how did this latest entry in a long-running franchise fare in the brutal arena of film economics? First, let's talk budget versus production quality. Now, if you're expecting Sniper, The Last Stand to look like a $200 million Marvel movie, you're looking at the wrong target. This is not a film that boasts an astronomical budget. Details on the precise figures for Sniper, The Last Stand 2025 aren't typically publicized for films in this specific market segment, but we can infer quite a bit by comparing its production values to its genre peers and larger blockbusters. What's clear is that the filmmakers have done a commendable job of maximizing their resources. As we discussed, the film leans heavily on practical effects where it counts, those explosive squibs, tangible debris, and real-world sets. This gives the action a much more grounded and impactful feel than if they had tried to conjure everything out of CGI on a shoestring budget. The explosions look convincing because, often, they are convincing. The urban ruins and desolated landscapes feel authentic, suggesting smart location scouting and efficient set dressing rather than massive, expensive builds. The action sequences are well choreographed and dynamic, proving that good direction and stunt work can often trump raw cash. So compared to its likely modest budget, the production quality is surprisingly high, delivering a visually satisfying and immersive experience that punches above its weight class. Now, on to the all-important financial success or disappointment. This is where the landscape for the Sniper franchise and films like it is a bit different from your traditional theatrical release. Sniper, The Last Stand 2025 isn't primarily a box office contender in the traditional sense. These films have largely transitioned to a direct-to-digital and streaming model. So, judging its success purely by cinema ticket sales would be missing the point entirely. The film has seen significant success on streaming platforms, particularly Netflix. It has quickly climbed the charts, hitting top spots in various regions, like reaching number 2 on Netflix's US charts. This indicates a strong audience reception within the streaming ecosystem. For a film like this, streaming performance, digital rentals, and VOD, video on demand, sales are the true indicators of financial viability. The fact that it's doing well on Netflix suggests that it's finding its target audience directly, generating revenue through subscriptions and digital purchases rather than relying on packed theaters. Marketing strategy for films in this segment is also quite distinct. You're not seeing Super Bowl ads or massive billboard campaigns. Instead, marketing often focuses on direct digital outreach, genre-specific websites, and leveraging the established fanbase of the franchise. Trailers are released online, and the film's availability on major streaming platforms, like Netflix, Amazon, Vudu, Microsoft Store, is the key promotional message. The sheer number of installments in the Sniper series means there's a built-in audience eager for the next chapter. So while it might not be making headlines for its theatrical gross, its robust performance on streaming services indicates that the marketing effectively reached its intended demographic, influencing its strong digital earnings. In essence, Sniper, The Last Stand 2025 wasn't a box office disappointment because it wasn't designed to be a theatrical box office hit. It was a financial success within its intended distribution model, cleverly leveraging its budget for solid production quality and relying on a direct-to-audience strategy through streaming. It proves that in today's diverse media landscape, success isn't just measured in opening weekend numbers but in how effectively a film finds and satisfies its global audience on the platforms where they consume content. And for this film, that strategy seems to have hit the bullseye. Alright, tactical viewers, listen up. You're ready to dive into the heart-pounding action of Sniper, The Last Stand 2025, and the good news is, you've got options. This isn't a film that demands you trek to a specific cinema. It's built for the modern viewing landscape. First and foremost, let's address the big question. Is it in theaters? The short answer is, generally, no. Sniper, The Last Stand 2025, much like many of its recent franchise predecessors, is primarily a direct-to-digital and streaming release. This means you won't typically find it on the big silver screen at your local multiplex. This strategic distribution model allows it to reach its dedicated fanbase directly, bypassing the traditional theatrical gauntlet. So, where can you watch it? Get ready for a smorgasbord of choices. You can absolutely stream it via subscription on platforms like Netflix. In many regions, including the US, Sniper, The Last Stand has found a comfortable home on Netflix, both standard and with ads, where it has quickly climbed the charts. This is a fantastic option if you're already a subscriber and prefer the convenience of having it included with your existing plan. Beyond subscription services, the film is widely available for digital rental or purchase across a variety of major online platforms. Think of your usual suspects for VOD, video on demand. Amazon Video, Prime Video, Apple TV, iTunes, Fandango at Home, formerly Vudu, Microsoft Store, Google Play Movies, YouTube, often available for purchase or rental directly through YouTube's movie section, Spectrum on Demand, for Spectrum cable subscribers. This means you have the flexibility to rent it for a limited time, usually 48 hours once you start watching, or purchase it outright to own in your digital library. Prices for rentals typically hover around the $5 to $7 mark, while purchases might be in the $12 to $15 range, though this can vary by platform and region. Now, for the best way to watch it for the fullest impact, question. Given its action-heavy nature and focus on tension and suspense, here's my recommendation for maximizing the experience. 1. A big screen and sound system. If you have a large screen TV at home, that's definitely the way to go. The film's practical effects, the intense close-ups during sniper sequences, and the scale of the destruction will all benefit from more screen real estate. 2. Sound. Glorious sound. Don't rely on your TV's built-in speakers if you can help it. A good soundbar, a surround sound system, or even quality headphones will make a massive difference. The sound design in action films like this is crucial for immersion. You want to hear every bullet ricochet, every distant explosion, and every strained breath of the characters. It truly pulls you into the firefight. 3. Minimize distractions. This isn't a film to have on in the background while you're scrolling through social media. The suspense builds effectively, and those moments of quiet tension leading up to explosive action demand your full attention. Turn off the lights, silence your phone, and let yourself get completely engrossed in Brandon Beckett's desperate struggle. 4. High definition or 4K. If available, most of these digital platforms offer the film in HD or even 4K. While it might not be a visual effects spectacle, the improved clarity and detail will enhance the grounded realism of the sets and practical effects, making the experience feel more immediate and gritty. So while you won't be sharing the experience with a cheering crowd in a cinema, Sniper: The Last Stand 2025 is perfectly positioned for a thrilling, immersive viewing right from the comfort of your own home. Grab your snacks, dim the lights, crank up the volume, and prepare for a relentless last stand that will keep you on the edge of your couch.